Columbine High School Massacre. On April 20th, 1999, two students opened fire at Columbine High School in Littleton, Colorado, killing 12 students and one teacher before taking their own lives. The attack lasted less than an hour, but its impact changed how the world thinks about school safety forever. Before Columbine, mass shootings in schools were treated as isolated tragedies. After it, governments, schools, and psychologists began studying warning signs, rethinking security systems, and developing crisis response plans. The attackers had shown signs of distress and made threats that went unaddressed. That failure became a turning point in how society responds to at-risk youth. Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. On December 14, 2012, a 20-year-old man killed 20 children and 6 staff members at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. The victims were between 6 and 7 years old, making it one of the deadliest attacks on children in American history. The scale of the loss sparked a national debate about gun legislation that continues to this day. It also led many school districts to fundamentally redesign their buildings, adding security, vestibules, reinforced doors, and lockdown protocols that had not existed before. The grief from Sandy Hook reached beyond the United States and prompted many countries to review their own school safety measures. Beslan school siege. In September 2004, a group of armed militants took over school number 1 in Beslan, a small town in southern Russia. They held more than 1,100 people hostage for 3 days, the majority of them children. When the siege ended in chaos and explosions, 334 hostages were dead, including 186 children. The attack was carried out by Chechen separatists and remains one of the most horrific acts of terrorism targeting a school in modern history. The world watched in disbelief as the events unfolded on live television. Beslan showed that schools could become targets of organized political violence on a massive scale, and it forced many nations to reconsider how they protect educational institutions in conflict-prone regions. Bath school disaster. Most people think of school attacks as a modern problem, but the deadliest school massacre in American history happened in 1927. On May 18 of that year, a man named Andrew Kehoe set off a series of explosives he had secretly planted inside Bath Consolidated School in Michigan, killing 36 children and 2 teachers. He had spent months wiring the building with dynamite while serving as a school board member. The attack was not carried out with a firearm, but with carefully planned detonations. Kehoe also killed his wife, destroyed his own farm, and died in a final explosion he triggered himself. The Bath school disaster reveals how long this kind of violence has existed and how deeply personal grievances can lead to catastrophic outcomes. Dunblane Primary School Massacre. On March 13, 1996, a 43-year-old man walked into Dunblane Primary School in Scotland and opened fire in the gymnasium, killing 16 children and their teacher before shooting himself. The victims were all 5 and 6 years old. The massacre shocked the United Kingdom to its core and led directly to some of the strictest gun control laws in the world. Within 2 years, private ownership of handguns was effectively banned across Britain. Dunblane is remembered not only for its tragedy, but for the political response it generated, often cited as a model of how a country can act decisively after a mass shooting. Winnenden school shooting. On March 11, 2009, a 17-year-old former student entered Albertville Realschule in Winnenden, Germany, and shot and killed 8 female students, 1 male student, and 3 teachers. He then fled and killed 3 more people at a nearby psychiatric clinic before being shot dead by police. Germany had experienced a school shooting in 2002 in Erfurt, but Winnenden reignited the national conversation about youth mental health access to firearms within family homes, and the role of violent media. The shooter had taken his father's legally registered gun from the family home. Following the attack, Germany tightened its firearms storage laws significantly. Peshawar School Massacre. On December 16, 2014, Taliban militants stormed the Army Public School in Peshawar, Pakistan, in a coordinated attack that lasted several hours. They moved through classrooms and an auditorium, targeting students and staff. When it ended, 149 people were dead, 132 of them children. The attack was one of the deadliest terrorist acts in Pakistan's history and provoked widespread outrage across the country and the world. The Pakistani military responded with intensified operations against militant networks. The school, which primarily served children of military personnel, had been chosen deliberately as a symbolic target. It remains a defining moment in Pakistan's ongoing struggle with extremist violence. Kazan school shooting. On May 11, 2021, a teenage gunman opened fire at school number 175 in Kazan, Russia, killing 9 students and 2 teachers. The attack renewed discussion in Russia about its gun laws, as the shooter had legally obtained a firearm just days before. Russian authorities responded by announcing plans to tighten the licensing process for civilian gun ownership. What made this case particularly striking was how quickly it followed similar school attacks in other parts of Russia in previous years. It pointed to a growing pattern that had previously been associated mainly with the United States and prompted schools across Russia to increase security staffing. Realengo school shooting. On April 7, 2011, a man in his 20s entered Tasso da Silveira Municipal School in the Realengo neighborhood of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and shot and killed 12 students, wounding many more, before being shot by police. Most of the victims were between 13 and 15 years old. The attacker was a former student of the school and left behind letters with vague religious and personal justifications for the attack. Brazil had not experienced anything like this before, and the country reacted with deep shock. The attack led to increased security at schools in Rio de Janeiro and broader conversations about mental health services and social isolation among young people. Nakhon Ratchasima Nursery Massacre. On October 6, 2022, a former police officer attacked a childcare center in Uthai Sawan, a small town in northeast Thailand. He killed 36 people, including 24 children, before taking his own life. Most of the children were between 2 and 5 years old. The attacker had recently been dismissed from the police force and had appeared in court earlier that day on drug-related charges. The scale of the attack was devastating for a country that had seen very little of this kind of mass violence. Thailand went into a period of national mourning, and the case drew global attention to the vulnerability of child care facilities and the link between personal crises and sudden catastrophic violence.